Nobody films the boring part. The highlight reel skips straight from the decision to the breakthrough. It never shows the 1,000 ordinary mornings in between, the ones with no music, no audience, no sense that anything is happening at all. There's a woman in the Bible whose entire story is built on those unfilmed mornings, a foreign widow with nothing but a mother-in-law to care for, who shows up to the same field, doing the same unglamorous work, day after day, long before anyone noticed her. This is Ruth, and her story is proof that the boring, repeated, unnoticed discipline is very often exactly what the breakthrough is quietly being built out of. Nothing left but the choice to show up. Ruth is a Moabite widow who chooses to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi, instead of returning to her own people after both their husbands die. She arrives in Bethlehem with no land, no husband, no income, and no safety net beyond the one she's about to build with her own hands. There's no dramatic rescue waiting for her on page 1. Just 2 women, one plan and a decision to keep going anyway. Before there's ever a harvest to speak of, there's simply the choice to not give up. The unglamorous job. Ruth doesn't wait for an opportunity to find her. She tells Naomi, "Let me go to the field and glean among the ears of grain." Gathering the leftover stalks the harvesters intentionally leave behind for the poor. Gleaning wasn't a career move. It was bending down one stalk at a time in the heat behind workers who'd already taken the best of the harvest. It's about as unremarkable a job as Scripture describes anywhere. She happened to come to the field. She happened to come to the part of the field belonging to Boaz. That single word, happened, is doing enormous work in this story, because nothing about it was actually random. Ruth didn't know which field belonged to which owner when she started that morning. She just went to work, in the nearest field with grain still standing in it. The turning point of her whole story looks from the inside like an ordinary decision to just start where she was, noticed for the thing nobody was watching. Boaz arrives at his field and asks his foreman about her. The foreman's answer isn't about her beauty or her story. It's about her work ethic. She has continued from early morning until now, except for a short rest. That's the detail that gets reported back. Not a dramatic act, just consistency, observed by someone who happened to be watching the field that day. The discipline she'd been building with no one important around to see it is exactly what got noticed the moment someone who mattered finally was. Favor doesn't replace the work. Boaz extends real favor, tells her to stay in his field. Drink from the water his young men draw instructs the reapers to deliberately drop extra grain for her to find. That's grace unearned and generous. But notice what Ruth does with it. She doesn't sit back and let the favor do the work for her. So she gleaned in the field until evening. Favor opened a door. It didn't walk through it for her. She still put in the same full day of unglamorous labor, just now inside a kinder field. An ephah of what consistency actually produces. At the end of that one day, Ruth beats out what she's gathered, and it comes to about an ephah of barley, roughly enough to feed 2 people for well over a week. That's not luck. That's the compounded result of one full, disciplined day, stalk by stalk, in a field that rewarded the effort she'd already been putting in elsewhere. Consistency rarely feels like it's producing anything while you're inside a single ordinary day of it. It's only at the end of the day, or the season, that the pile of what you gathered becomes visible all at once. She kept returning. Chapter 2 ends with a detail easy to skim past. So she kept close to the young women of Boaz, gleaning until the end of the barley and wheat harvests. Not one good day. An entire season of the same unremarkable routine, repeated until it was finished. This is the part discipline stories rarely dramatize. Honestly, the breakthrough with Boaz didn't end the daily grind. It just meant she kept doing it, harvest after harvest, in a field that was becoming safer because of who was watching her show up. What the boring days were quietly building. By the end of the book, Boaz redeems Ruth, marries her, and they have a son named Obed, who becomes the grandfather of King David, placing Ruth directly in the lineage that eventually leads to Jesus. None of that happens without the unfilmed mornings and over stalks of barley in a field, showing up long, before there was any reason to believe it would matter to anyone beyond her. And Naomi's next meal. The boring, repeated work wasn't a delay before her real story started. It was her real story the whole time, just not the part anyone thought to film. If your days feel more like a field of leftover stalks than a highlight reel right now, Ruth's story says that's not a sign nothing is happening. It's usually exactly where something is being built. This is episode 3 of the series on discipline and the mindset for real success. Subscribe so you catch every episode. And if this one found you in your own unglamorous season, drop the word gleaning in the comments. I read every single one. Nobody was filming Ruth bent over that field, stalk by stalk, hour after hour. But every part of the story that mattered later was quietly being written in exactly those unfilmed hours. Never forget, you're stronger than you think.